coming tonight. We really appreciate you coming to our facility and seeing everything. I want to thank the staff. This place turned out amazing, and I want everyone give a chance. If you haven't met the staff yet, I'd like you to meet everybody because they really were a huge part of putting all this together. Appreciate seeing all the clients here that we have tonight. Thank you all so much for attending. And if you're new here and this is the first time you've come in, we'd love to tell you more about the programs that we have, or you're welcome to speak to the clients that are here and learn more about their view of everything. We love for our clients to get to know each other and communicate with each other, and really share with each other, because it's hearing things from us is one thing, to hear from our clients and sharing those ideas is a whole different level of things. So thank you all for coming tonight. We're going to start off with LaWanda coming up to speak. She is one of our star clients. She's done so amazing, and I want to give her a chance to tell more about what she's been through and her accomplishments, and then we will get to our guest speaker. So, LaWanda, I'll give you the floor.
Hello, everyone. I'm LaWanda, and I just want to share a little bit about my journey. Everyone has their own journey, but I found that in the end, we're all trying to get to the same goal. So I just want to give you guys a little bit of background. About 2 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with brain cancer. So I brought her into my home to become her primary caregiver. My job consisted of being a single mom with 2 teenage kids. I'm a school nurse, coming to school, taking care of 1,000+ kids, then going back home and taking care of my ill mom. That lasted for about 6 months. And literally one day, I woke up and I screamed when I looked at myself in the mirror. It was like a light flipped on, and I realized, oh my God, I'm fat. I was screaming. My kids came running, Mom, are you okay? And tears just started strolling down my face because I didn't know who I was. I was so consumed with taking care of everybody else's needs, I forgot about my own. So because I'm a nurse, I know what I need to do to take care of myself. I know how to eat right. I know how to get it in. So I said, I'm going to get to the gym. I went, paid the membership to LA Fitness. I went faithfully, 4 days a week for 6 months. I changed my diet. I started eating like a rabbit. I mean, I've eaten so much lettuce. I don't even like the way it smells. I've eaten so much. The whole 6 months, I lost a total of 0 pounds. I had then made up in my mind, you know how you rationalize with yourself, well, hey, I did it. This is what I was supposed to do. God made me this way, so I'm going to accept it. Well, that was until I went to go see Dr. Ruan for my checkup. He goes, well, you're pre-diabetic. We got to get this weight off. I said, well, I've done what I was supposed to do. I'm eating right. I've worked out. So go ahead and give me that magical pill. He says, no. I was like, excuse me? I said, I want a magic pill to make it all go away. He goes, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. Either you get the weight off or you're going to be put on medicine. My mother was also diabetic, and I know what diabetes can do to a person. And I said, there's no way I want to be on medicine. I don't want to inject myself 3 to 4 times a day to help me stay afloat. He says, trust me. Do you trust me? I said, I do. He said, give me 3 months. I said, for what? He goes, we're going to get this weight off. I said, I've been doing it for 6. I've lost 0 pounds. This is the way I'm supposed to be. He said, no, I have a group of people that will work with you. They will get you where you need to be. But you got to trust me. I took the paper. I was like, whatever, I'm not doing this. So a week goes by, and I was like, well, let me go ahead and call him. I said I would, so I will. And I, by chance, got a call back from Kim. She says, well, come on in. Let me talk to you. I said, oh, what are they going to sell me? What game are they going to play on me now? So I go in there, and guys, I promise, when she told me this, I was shocked. She asked me, one of the first things out of her mouth, she said, do you do drugs? In my head, I was like, do I look like I do drugs? Then she says, do you do crack? I said, no. She says, why not? I said, because it would kill me. And she says, exactly right. She said, what I want you to do, I want you to go home. I want you to make a list of your go-to foods, candies, potato chips, snacks, whatever you think that, oh, I need this to help me get through my day, write it on that list. And at the top of that list, I want you to put crack list. I thought she was a little off at first. But let me tell you what happened. I went and made this list, and on the top of my list, I don't know if y'all are aware of these things, they are so addictive. They're Starburst minis. Oh my God, they are so good. They are so good. Never, don't try them because you'll be hooked, I promise you. So about 5 days later, kid you not, I promise, right hand up to God, 10:30 at night. Some Starburst minis. Literally, I start thinking of where can I get it from? HEB is closing. I'm not going to make it in time. CVS. 11 o'clock by now. I get up, put clothes on, go to CVS, walk through the store, pick up my Starburst minis, and then I get them and I'm like, he's going to see that I'm buying this candy. Let me get some water. He won't see the candy if I put water on the counter too. So I went and got water and I put it up there and I kind of slid it under there. At that moment, I knew this was the place for me. Because just in the time that I talked to her, the guilt that I felt of knowing that I was not supposed to have that candy, I knew this was where I was supposed to be. So, it may not be a lot to some, but to me, working out for 6 months and have not lost 1 pound. I've been here since June. I've lost 22 pounds, 2 inches off my chest, 2 inches off my waist, and 2 inches off my thighs. And I'm truly thankful to this group of people. Each and every one of these guys have touched my life in one way or another, whether it's filling in for my trainer, Michaela, or me asking them questions. They've all touched me, and they have truly given me the tools that I need to help save my life. And if you haven't tried them, you should. That's all I got.
Appreciate it. Next up, we're going to have Dr. Ruan, as she mentioned in her little talk. Dr. Ruan is from Medical Colleagues of Texas, and he has helped numerous clients of ours. He's been really great for just helping them try to get off medications or just turn their life around as far as getting healthier. And really appreciate what you've done for a lot of our clients, and we're honored that you come to speak with us at our open house. So thank you, and come on up.
Great. Hi everybody. For those of you who've never seen me before, you saw the picture outside. You probably thought I was this tall and have a very thick Chinese accent based on my name, right? That's the most common comment I get when someone meets me for the first time. They don't expect this big guy. And what they really don't expect is that I don't give them the Z-Pack all the time. Anyway, so a little bit about myself. I'm an Aggie. Whoops. I was born in China, but I came to the U.S. when I was 7 years old. I grew up in Houston. I went to Bel Air High School over there, Bel Air. And then I ultimately went to A&M and went away for medical school at Ross. I was in New York for about 7 years doing medical school and residency, practiced in New York for a little bit, decided that I'm a Texas boy, and had to come back home. Right?
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah. So, when I was in New York, going through my residency was a very tough time. It's tough for all the residents. All the residents would go through the same sort of spiel. The first year, you're like a workhorse, okay? You just sleep deprived, just go through whatever you need to get through to survive. Okay. The second year, you're in charge of more things. So you're not being worked like a workhorse. You want to work like a workhorse because you want to make sure that your patients are okay. Third year, you're in charge of the second and first years. You can sit back a little bit. Then when things go wrong, it's your fault. So as transitioning through this, this residency process is a lot like you going to work, right? Because when you first get up in the morning, okay, you think about all these things you have to do, this. You don't think about your breakfast. You don't think about making the good choices during breakfast. You don't think about what you do during the daily activities. And the reason is you have other stuff to think about, right? So this other stuff you think about is what we call intention. So it's a box called intention. The stuff that you don't think about are called habits. Okay? All right. So you have intentions and habits. So someone give me one principle of what a habit is. Just yell it out. Repetitive. Okay. Anything else?
Mindless.
Mindless. That's a good one. What else? Repetitive, mindless. That's it. That's the habit. That's pretty much it. Routine. So what I'm hearing is that mindless, you say, right? Mindless means that it's somehow it's in the subconscious. It's like when you get up in the morning, you have better things to think about. 5 minutes go by and it's really 2 hours and you're really driving on the way to work and you have no idea what switches are or how many red lights work because it's so rare, right? That's a habit, right? So the anatomy of the habit in the head, it's just automaticity. It's automatic. Everything's very automatic. It just happens. Okay. The body of the habit is a cycle. Okay. Automatic cycle. The foundation of a habit is a lack of emotion. It's a little counterintuitive when you think about it. So why does a habit have a lack of emotion? Because you're not aware of it. It's in your subconscious. You don't have an emotional tie to this habit, right? So a lack of emotion means that you don't want to think about this habit. And the reason you don't want to think about this habit is because it's too hard to go every day thinking about every little thing that you have to do. It's just too hard. So your mind says, you know what, just take it easy, just worry about the big stuff. And let the habit do its work. And you just go. And all of a sudden, you're on cruise control. You're on cruise control down this life. You're on cruise control down this life. I was on cruise control in my first year of residency. I was doing this, I was doing things. Second year, I was doing things. Third year, I was supervising people doing things. I was on cruise control. Okay? And what happens to this cruise control is that things start happening that you don't want to start happening. Okay? It could be emotional, it could be physical, spiritual. People's relationships can get harmed. A lot of physicians have a tough time with relationships during residencies because of this, because things become so automatic that what's supposed to be emotional is not emotional because of the defense mechanism of a human being. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's why habits are emotionless. They're emotionless so your body can handle it. Your body can handle not thinking about it, let it set on cruise control, and think about the bigger things. Okay, so that's the anatomy of a habit. So if a habit is subconscious, then how are you going to recognize it? Okay. You can't do it yourself because other people will notice your habits because they will tie their emotions towards your habits. And you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever struggled with your weight, I've struggled with my weight my whole life. And, if my family sees me going through residency, eating whatever it is I do, sometimes I work a 48-hour shift. I grab whatever I can eat, just stuff it into my body. I'm not going to be the most healthy person in the world, but it hurts my mom to see me go through this. And it hurts her to have her hear about it. It doesn't hurt me because it's a habit. Habits are emotionless before her is full of emotion. But my mom will never tell me. My mom will never tell me because she knows that I have other stuff to worry about. And so she excuses my habits. Okay? All right. So ultimately, if people are used to your own habits, they will strip emotion away from your habits so it doesn't affect them. So the ball just keeps rolling, keeps rolling. Everybody around you is going to ignore your habits because if it makes them uncomfortable, they're not going to think about it. They're going to strip that emotion away from the habit and it becomes automatic, it becomes cyclical, right? And you just don't think about it, and the people around you don't think about it. And then, now you're on cruise control, or everybody's on cruise control with you. You have everybody by your side. You're going down this lane, and then all of a sudden you get to a point, you get to this line right here. There's a line if you guys can't see. There's a line right here in the middle, and when you go over the line, you stop and you look at yourself in the mirror like, what just happened? What just happened in the last 9 years of my life? Right? 9 years, that's residency in high school. That's 9 years of my life, right here. So you look at yourself and you think, well, obviously I'm doing something wrong, okay? So I'm gonna go out and fix it. I eat like crap, so I'm gonna fix it, okay? So you try to figure out what you've been doing, and in the process, you continue to make excuses for yourself. And this is a really good example. I'll use myself as an example. So when I finished residency, I looked at myself, I gained a bunch of weight, okay? And it was really because of the habits I picked up when I was a first year of residency. When I was an intern, I ate whatever it is out there because I know for the next 12 hours, I may not have a chance to eat, right? And so I made an excuse to myself that I know for the next 12 hours I'm gonna have a chance to eat. So I'll pick up whatever's free. You know, residency, we're real poor. Whatever's free, $380,000 in debt, so I'm gonna take whatever's free. And I grab it and I put it in my mouth. And that habit continues on. And as you try to look back, you're like, maybe those weren't the best choices. Maybe I'll try to alter some of these things that became habits. That's not as easy as you think, because when I stand here and look back at myself and I'm trying to alter things, that's called an intention, right? And intention means that you intentionally want to wear your seatbelt in the car, you intentionally don't want to text while you drive, but we're at the red light, somehow you put out your phone, you look at Facebook or whatever it is. He's laughing, yeah, I know. but intentions are good only if they can affect habits. So how many times have the media affected the human intention? Countless times, okay? Back in the 70s, it was the seatbelt ads. They tried to get people to wear seatbelts, okay? It didn't work. Year after year after year, no matter how many car crashes they showed, how many people going through the window, they didn't work, okay? It wasn't until they affected their habits that people started wearing seatbelts. So how did the United States do that? They started using negative reinforcement. They gave tickets, right? And the tickets were expensive. They were $3,000 for no seatbelt ring. Okay, well, I don't know. Actually, no, they were $1,200. Later on, it went to $3,000. But if you find $1,200 if you don't wear a seatbelt, and so everybody started wearing the seatbelt. It became habitual because people tied a negative emotion, a negative reinforcement into that habit. So that habit is no longer a habit because there's an emotion tied to it, right? I told you the foundation of the habit is no emotion, but now there's an emotion tied to it. It's no longer a habit to wear their seatbelts. Now it's a habit to wear a seatbelt, so that's a good habit. Right? Does that make sense? So, you know the anatomy of a habit: automaticity, cyclical, and emotionless. You want to build it from the ground up, which is the emotionless. Turn the emotionless part into emotion. So how are we going to do that? Any ideas? Blurt something out. How are we going to attach an emotion to a habit? Look in the mirror. That's really good. So I look myself in the mirror. What do I see in the mirror? I see something that I do not like. Okay? But when you see something you do not like, are you really attaching that emotion to a habit or attaching that emotion to yourself to change your intentions? If you look in the mirror, you're not doing anything about your habits. You have to first identify the habit. Identifying the habit is the hardest part. Okay, my wife tells me, I had no idea I did this up until a week ago, that every morning I get up, I'm really groggy, I go into the bathroom, I turn the light switch on, light switch off, light switch on again. and I started brushing my teeth. And when she pointed it out, I'm like, no, there's no way I do that. There's no way. So the following morning, I get up, and I turn the light switch on, and then when I reach to turn the light switch on, I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. She can't be right. My wife cannot be right all the time. Not doing it. Not doing it. That was my emotional reaction to a habit, right? I don't think I've done it since then. but that's such a simple example of what goes on every day in your mind, right? So how are you going to attach an emotion to a habit is if the habit's identified, and usually it's by somebody else. Okay, somebody else. Or somebody else identifies their own habit, and you identify with that person. Okay? Which is a lot what we see here. Right? Okay. So, if my spouse or my sister or my somebody tells me I have this habit, I attach my emotion to it, and now my foundation is that this is full of emotion. What happens to the cycle? It stops. Okay? What happens to the automaticity? It stops because I have that emotion to it. You start from the ground up, right here. This is your emotion. Does that make sense? Okay. So now most of you think, okay, what are my habits? I have no idea. Or you think you have an idea, but really you should look over to your spouse and ask them, what are my habits? Because it's really hard to change your habits if you do it alone. It's really, really difficult. I'm really excited to talk about this because I don't tell anybody this in the clinics because I only have a few minutes with them and they have no idea what I'm talking about. It's like talking crazy. I just want my Z-pack. Okay. Yeah, that's a habit too, right? I'm sick of my Z-pack, dog, please. So now we can come up with ways to identify the habit. I mean, I told you that identifying the habit is the hardest part. Because once identified, automatically there's going to be an emotion to it. Okay? People say I talk with my hands a lot. But I really don't notice. But it's a habit. But I like it. It's positive reinforcement, so I like it. If someone tells me I talk with my hands a lot, I don't like it. I'm going to be talking like this the whole time. Looking on the ground. Kicking imaginary stones. So, any ideas how to identify your habits? Other than asking somebody?
If they cause harm to you?
I'm sorry?
If they cause harm or interfere with your life?
If they cause harm, how do you know if they cause harm to you? Because it's emotionless. You don't identify it. Huh?
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I have OCD, so I do stuff that I shouldn't do, but
But are you aware of it afterwards, correct?
yeah.
Who points it out to you?
Myself.
Yourself. Okay, so there's things about yourself you pointed out to you that have a negative emotion tied to whatever habits that you do.
But it's like,
It just goes. It just goes. But you know it goes.
Yeah.
You can think back, it's like I just did this and 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 this because I'm OCD. Right? My sister does. And so what do you do about it?
Well,
If one of your OCD habits cause harm to you, what do you do about it?
I try to stop it, of course.
How do you try to stop it?
I just tell myself
Okay. Does it work?
Not all the time.
Not all the time.
It doesn't really cause harm when it's
Sure.
like,
Well, harm means
Yeah.
negative emotion,
Yeah.
right? You have a negative emotion, and then you want to try to stop
I
it.
kind of identify when you're flipping on the switch. I do that sometimes.
Flipping that switch.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit OCD too.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a physician, I guess.
Yeah.
So the point I was trying to make with those habits is that you can identify your own habits, but it's really hard to terminate it because you know what happens over and over again, right? Even though you attach an emotion to it, but that's transient.
Or if it interferes with your life, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But you realize it.
Right.
Just change the dynamics.
Sorry?
If you change the dynamics,
Uh-huh.
it makes you have to think before you execute.
Okay. How do
So in other words, if
yeah.
I have chocolate in my desk every day,
Ah,
it's probably going to be my habit to reach in the drawer and eat some.
accessibility.
If I remove that, then I'm going to have to think, ooh, now I have to get up and go get chocolate.
Oh, that's perfect. Absolutely. So one of them is availability and accessibility. Right. Availability and accessibility. So let's go back to my light switch. What if I just rip out the light switch? That's one way, right? But changing the dynamics of it. Okay. So changing the dynamics of it, you have to break the cycle somewhere. Okay. And so a lot of people who come to my office tell me that they eat well. I was like, okay, well, what does well mean to you? Okay. It's like, doc, every morning I get up, I have some yogurt, I have some Raisin Brands, I have oatmeal for lunch, I have chicken breast, and some brown rice for dinner. Okay. I was like, okay. What do you eat for snacks? It's like, doc, I don't snack. I don't snack. Okay. The first visit, they never tell me to snack. And then I check some more. Oh, you snack. And I'll tell you, most people who snack don't think they snack, okay? Because they remove the emotion out of it, it becomes cyclical, it becomes automatic, and because there's availability in the chocolate in the drawer. That chocolate in the drawer is not tied to the emotion, it's just there. Pull in, not. Okay? I have a really, really bad habit, my mom hates it, that every time I get stressed out, like when I'm on the phone, I get really stressed out, I'll open the fridge and close it. I don't eat anything, I just open the fridge, close it. Open the fridge, close it, because it gives me comfort to look at food. I don't even care what food it is. It gives me comfort to look at food. Do I notice? Absolutely not. I've been doing it for a decade. I don't remember anything at all when I'm doing this. My wife confirmed it. I guess she's right. I'm not saying to lock the fridge and changing the dynamics. I'm saying that you can manipulate your own habits by attaching a positive emotion to another habit, right? So putting a negative emotion towards a habit you don't want and attaching a positive emotion to another habit that you do want, you can manipulate these habits, okay? It is much easier said than done because by definition, habits are habitual, right? Habits are cyclical and they're really automatic and they're almost ingrained into you, okay? And habits start when you're a baby. And habits start when you're a child. So I'll tell you what I found out about myself is that when I went to China, I was in China 2 days ago. I just got back 2 days ago. And it's my grandmother's 90th birthday, and I asked her, and I asked her, Grandma, I'm giving this talk in 2 days, I don't know what the hell I'm going to say. But it's like, Grandma, did I have any really bad habits when I was a kid? And she just laughed at me. She's like, you used to open the fridge every single day and not take anything out. It drove us nuts because you waste electricity. And my uncle's like, yep, that's you. That's you. And I call my wife. My wife didn't come with me. I call my wife, honey, you're right. I was like, oh my God, that started when I was so young. And honestly, the reason I was opening all the fridges is because when I was young, I bounced from different homes in China because my father was away for the first 3 years of my life. I bounced from different homes in China, and I was always looking for something to eat. And since I was a guest, in Chinese, if you're a guest, everybody gives you food. And since I was a guest, I always had access to food, whatever food I wanted. So I was really spoiled from when I was 0 to 3. And so I used to just open everybody's fridge. It was really annoying for my grandparents. But anyway, fast forward 30-something years later, and then I'm doing the same thing in my own house. So that was kind of shocking. That was a revelation I had. I was like, oh my God, I gotta stop doing that. I still do that, by the way, to this day. So now I want to attach a negative habit or negative emotion to the bad habit, and attach a positive emotion to something I want to keep. Okay. All right. That's where the fun starts. Because identifying your habit requires people. Identifying a positive reinforcement technique and a positive habit also requires people. It requires people and people who are around you to identify that habit. Because some people think that the positive habit is positive, but really it's really, really, really negative. And I'm talking about people who think the full-blown diabetic should have 4 bowls of oatmeal a day, but it raises their blood sugars to no limit, right? So why do they think that oatmeal is healthy? Is because, well, it's the media, right? Quaker Oats. Yeah,
For your
the
health.
paper system, right? And, but, in the 1950s, they say cocaine was good for you too. That's why they put it in Coca-Cola, right? And, we want to be slim and healthy. I should have brought that ad from 1953. We want to be slim and healthy. There's a real sexy girl on the cover. Coca-Cola, cocaine, linked everything together. That was popular media, right? There's another one from the 1960s that I saw. It had the multivitamins, right? One a day will keep you in the kitchen running all day. It was real sexist. But that's what they believed, because it was the media who sort of designed this. Now, what if you had access to people who actually know what the nutritional values of these things are, like people in this facility, or myself, or physicians, or nutritionists, or your friends? Okay? What if you had access to those people? If you have access to those people, you can remain on the positive side. Remain on the positive side of things and try to attach positive reinforcement toward those things. So, I see a lot of patients a day in my office, but whenever people come in and they're either the blood sugar is not controlled or I see that they're gaining weight, I always make comments, what are you eating these days? That's my medical assistant told me that's my most common phrase. What are you eating these days? And no matter what they come in for, so what are you eating these days? And then usually they tell me, oh, doc, it was Christmas and New Year's, it was the bad month. Like, Christmas is a day. This blood value of hemoglobin A1C measures 3 months of your blood sugars, but Christmas is a day, and New Year's is a day, right? And so they come with this. When people make excuses for themselves, it's also another bad habit because they don't realize they're making excuses for themselves because they believe what they say. Can you see that? What if you lie to yourself every day and you believe that lie? Okay. People do it all the time. People do it all the time. Let's see, what is a good lie for myself? I like to use myself because I don't want to call anybody embarrassing. I like to use myself as an example. I have a routine that I established, and when I wake up every morning, I do half an hour of some physical activity that I pre-plan on Sundays for the whole week. Okay. Usually it's Pilates or yoga or something like that. And that gets my blood flowing, and that gets me through the day. Well, great. I do this, and I have my breakfast, and then when I work, I give myself a really bad excuse. I rarely eat a lot during the day because I'm just going from place to place to place to place to place. I'm bouncing from room to room to room to room to room in my practice. And my excuse is that I'm doing this for the patients. They need to get out of here. We got to see everybody. Got to make sure they're healthy. I have to ask them what they're eating nowadays. And then so my excuse is that I can neglect myself because I'm doing this for the greater good. Right? I don't really like that about myself. Who pointed this out to me? It was actually my medical assistant. He was like, Doc, you gotta eat. Give me trays. Doc, you gotta eat. Sit down and eat. You gotta eat. You gotta eat. You gotta drink water. And it clicked on me that I was not really doing what I was preaching. And I've never liked that about a lot of physicians. You don't do what you preach. And that hit me so hard, I just kind of stopped there. I was like, oh my God, I turned into one of these. Because I can't do it. I can't do it. So what did I start doing? I actually started designing my day so I'm able to eat. Designing my day, I'm supposed to drink water. Because it doesn't matter if I'm helping patients for the greater good. I have to help myself. If I don't help myself, I can't help you. Right? So selfishness is a good thing in this instance. My daughter's almost 9 months now. And when she was born April 20th, Easter Sunday. When she was born, my whole world belonged to her. I didn't care if I didn't sleep. That's fine. I don't have to sleep. So honey, I'll change the diapers. Okay. Okay. I've always wanted to be dad since I was 13 years old because my sister was born when I was 13. And I thought it was really cool. I always wanted to be dad. I love changing diapers. I love doing everything for my child. And I neglected myself again during that time. And that time was probably my biggest weight gain. It was from from May to June. It was my biggest weight gain. I probably gained like 18 pounds or so. Did I know? I had no idea why. Because why? Because I've been logging what I eat for 8 years now. 8 years I've been logging what I eat every single day. That's part of my other habit. Looking at my logs, I have no idea why I was gaining weight. Okay? Then I started logging my sleep. And then I realized why I was gaining weight. Sleep is very important. Okay? It's very important to reduce your stress hormones and ultimately decrease fat deposit in this area called cortisol response, but that's for another topic. So I started logging my sleep because I needed to identify things that were wrong with me that I had to fix. And then so I started to understand my pattern of what I was doing. Some of you have Fitbits, right, who log your sleep pattern and stuff like that. I got something like that. It was some Chinese brand that my grandma got me in China. I probably slept an average of 2.5 to 3 hours a night for a whole month. And then, but I was happy. I was happy doing it because it was for my daughter. This is for my daughter. I was happy doing it. And then I wake up every other Sunday. I run a 10K, 10 kilometers. Okay. And my 10K times were so bad by the end of that month. And I thought, I must have asthma or something, you know? I have COPD, I never smoked in my life, I had something, I had diabetes, I had thyroid, something's wrong with my thyroid. I'm like, I sound like one of my patients. Doctor, something wrong with me. Check my blood for thyroid. I cannot run anymore. Oh man. Something's always wrong with me, and there's got to be something wrong with me because I cannot be doing this. Let's say, look, I log what I eat. I eat well. You know, I may not sleep very well, but there's something wrong with me. Okay. Well, that's something wrong is just neglecting yourself. Okay. And I realized something by the end of that month. And I was like, there's no way I can keep this up for decades and raise my daughter and bring her into college and hopefully medical school, whatever she wants to do. There's no way I can sustain that. I really have to take care of myself. And what's great about my profession is that I get to tell people this all day, but I don't reflect it on myself at that time of my life because my daughter was so important to me. But if my daughter knew what I was doing, then she will want me to be healthy for myself. Right? Kids want you to be healthy. Right? Kids want you to do well for yourself. So I decided, okay, I gotta do something for myself. So now I'm trying to look at my habit of not sleeping and really analyzing what do I do when I'm awake. Half the time I just stare at my daughter in the crib. Are you gonna be a doctor? You know, are you gonna be a lawyer? Are you gonna do something? And I actually documented exactly what I did, and I really surprised myself. I wasn't doing anything most of the time. I was like, all right, you gotta stop, you gotta go to bed. But when I'm gonna lay awake, it was like, is she gonna be a doctor? Is she a lawyer? But it took a while, but I adjusted. And just by adjusting my sleep, I lost about 17 pounds. No, that's the next one. I lost 10 pounds. Okay. And that was June. June was a great month. June was my birthday month. That was a great month. June, I figured out, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to tell my patients. Let me give you a secret. When physicians feel good about themselves, they're really good doctors. When physicians feel horrible about themselves, they're horrible doctors. Okay? And that's the truth, with not just physicians, but every industry. If you have self-confidence, if you feel good about yourself, you're going to do good for others. You're going to do well for others. Do good for others. That's bad grammar. Do good for others. I'm Chinese, man. And so now I had a new outlook in life. I was like, I'm going to be good for my daughter, okay? And since then, it's been pretty successful. Since then, my 10K times are much better. It's probably better than it was when I was 22. So, it's things start getting better. I started getting more flexible with the yoga that I was doing, and that that gave me a lot of self-confidence. And what I noticed is that the conversations with my patients completely changed. And I didn't even notice. Okay, the conversations with my patients. It's not that the time was longer, but the content of what I said was completely different from back in June. Okay, so what did I stress on? How are you sleeping these days? Right? It's like, okay. I asked that because I had that struggle before. That's how it works, and that's great. And with my patients and I have a relationship. Okay, not that kind of relationship, professional relationship, where we can communicate with each other. We can't communicate with each other, and I shouldn't be a doctor because doctor actually means teacher. Okay. If I can't communicate with my patients, then I don't have a relationship with people around me. And actually, it was my patients who made me realize my own bad habits. And so, since I'm in a position where I'm supposed to give good advice, I have to start taking my own advice, and then I have to start using my own experiences to reach out to people. Right? And so that became my positive reinforcement. I wanted to reach out. This is my positive reinforcement. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, I continue to do what I do. I continue to work out. I have designated times where I actually eat. 4 out of the 5 days. One day in my office, I let myself go. And I actually don't eat too much on that day because one of the days' schedules naturally is very, very busy. The rest of the 4 days, I make myself do things. Those of you who've been in my office, they know I have a big protein powder on my desk at all times. And I'm able to sustain these habits because I attach some positive emotions to those habits. And what are those emotions? Are all the things I just told you about, but they're really complex in my mind because I've attached so many positive things to this habit that this habit became a good habit and I'm sticking to it. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so what happens to the other habit of not eating and not sleeping and just staring at my daughter? It's okay to stare at my daughter, and dream, but not for like hours on end. So what happened to this habit? This habit had a negative emotional attachment to it, so we kicked it out. Okay? So who would have thought? I never would have thought that sitting next to my daughter's crib and looking at her was a bad habit. But I made it into one because I really need to get my own health in gear. Right? If I would have told you that I sit next to my daughter and daydream about what she's going to be when she grows up, you're more likely to say, "Aw," instead of, "Why aren't you sleeping?" Right? And because I now identify it as a bad habit. So don't believe what the media tells you. And so these things, you need the people around you to pick up on. You need the people around you to help you out so you can identify these things. Because identification is by far the hardest part of making or breaking a habit. Okay? In summary. So, you have anatomy of a habit. What's on the bottom? Emotionless, lack of emotion. What's in the middle? What's on the top? Automaticity. Automaticity. Okay? Do you know how to break that model right there? Put some negative emotion on the bottom. The rest will crumble. And then if you want to build a new habit, put some positive emotion on the bottom. You'll survive. But you can't do either without people's help. Because by definition, habits are subconscious. Right? That's all I want to say.